Hi, I'm Sanket Khanolkar and I am the COO and Chief People Officer at Security HQ.
Hi, this is Nilesh. I am Head of Product Management at the team at Security HQ.
Hi, I'm Dio. I head the GSOC operations at Security HQ.
So, all of us are here today in our state of art Global Security Operations Center, which we call as our Managed Defense Center as well. And what you see all around us are analysts working on real incidents day in and day out. Yeah. So, guys, I wanted to really touch on an important topic, or what I would call it as a hot topic, because when I'm going and talking to the CISOs and the CXOs, or at all levels, uh, what their fundamental concern is their brand reputation, their brand value, and how cyber risks impact it. Right. So while brand value, brand reputation might sound superficial, or it's on the on the surface area, right? But they're very, very concerned about how to protect it, how to defend it, how to make sure the integrity of their brand, of their organization is protected, right? So obviously, there are different ways in which we can do that, but at the core, all of us understand that we have to protect our IT assets. We have to have a set of hygiene in place. We have to have awareness in place. And apart from that, right, as Security HQ, for us, when it comes to customers, it's all about customer delight, right? So touching base on specifically your set of services or what we've been delivering day in and day out, how do we really touch organizations when it comes to their brand value? How do we make sure, or how can we really help them reduce their threat surface area? How can we help them protect their brand? How can we make them just sleep well in the night, right?
Okay, so Sanket, just to add what we elaborated just now, a few years back, the story was that everybody was concerned about their brand image on the internet,
Yeah.
or on the digital world, only if they have a digital presence, right? So the organizations like who are providing SaaS services, who are e-commerce services, or who has their operations running only on the mobile app, those are the organizations who were concerned about their brand in the digital world. But that has changed now, because for any organization, it's very important that they are protecting their digital identity.
Right.
So even if you have a big factory in the offline world, in the traditional world, you still need to protect your digital identities in the internet.
Right.
Now, this digital identities is what identifies you to your customers, to your partners, to your third parties, and this is where you are building your trust relationship. Now, how cyber risk is affecting is because with the digital identities and with your presence on the internet world, either somebody is sharing the confidential information, right, or
Knowingly or unknowingly. Yeah.
Knowingly, right?
Yeah.
Like, see, if I'm sharing my personal data, maybe it's not very confidential, right? But the fact that I have some of my personal data going on to some website, either directly or indirectly, somebody is collecting that, right? And if I come to know that there is a cyber attack against that organization, I will really be concerned.
Correct.
So nowadays, it's not just a matter of who should be searching, and who should be really concerned about their brand image on the online world. It's just that by default, everybody has to be concerned.
Right. Now I'll tell you, right, the de facto question, and even at the board level, right, they don't really understand what we are doing in the background. All they want to know is what about my reputation? Has it got impacted? Has something small happened, which has impacted it, which makes everyone else around talk about it, be it my competitors or be it anyone, right? That's what happens at the board level. They just want to know from their CISOs or their CXOs, are we okay or not? And that's what we need to really deal with, right? We need to tell them, yes, you guys are okay. And
I will just add on to the point which Nilesh made. So, see, it's not just about the digital presence, yeah, even if you do not have the digital presence, the one important factor is that indirectly we have certain services which are like cloud related, right? So, for example, if it's a developer company, they might have certain code which they publish on the GitHub. There might be certain cloud services which they are subscribed to, and indirectly that also affects the digital presence and the like indirectly they are connected to the internet, and probably that is a leaky bucket. That's where your brand image or like certain sensitive things can go out and leak out in the public.
Right. So when we talk about it, right, obviously every country, everyone is coming with their regulations, their mandates, be it their data privacy policies, laws, and then PII, and all of that. A lot of words, a lot of techie words, non-techie words floating around, right? But at the end of the day, when we talk about brand reputation, brand integrity, brand value, and cyber risk, right? Can you just tell me, if tomorrow someone's just made a fake website of my brand, what do we do? How do I stop that? How do I know that something like that has happened, right? Because it straight away impacts, right? It impacts my business, it impacts the trust which I've built. How? What do we do in that case?
So this is where a global cyber defense center come to the picture, right? Now, all of this is the potential threat, which ideally you should be knowing well in advance before
Right.
you get materialized, right? The way you can identify that is by collecting lot of intelligence. Now, when it say some threats like a ransomware attack, which is actually happening in your environment, you know that it is happening because this is where you have all the information you are collecting from your digital presence, right?
I just wanted to ask because it's in context, right? We have screens behind and we see a lot of this threat map and all of that. So that's the intelligence which we are talking about, right? And it's real feed. Yeah.
This is not, and this is happening in the real time. This is what we call, right? So for organizations' brand image, one is protecting its own IT estate, but at the same time, they also have to be aware of what information about the organization is floating around on the surface web and also on the dark web, right? Now, this is the intelligence that has to be collected round the clock, proactively, right? And all of these are chatters, right? So you get a lot of chatters of which you mention that okay, for this organization X, this is mentioned, that is mentioned, right? And you also give an example of somebody setting up a phishing website, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't just randomly comes up out of the blue. There's a planning which an attacker will do.
True.
And when somebody is planning all of that, we need all of this intelligence to be collected 24/7 so that we come to know that something like this is potentially going to happen. And this is where the power of intelligence gathering comes into the picture, which again is 24/7, right?
Yeah, right. So one thing, right? And see, where I come from, you guys are like hardcore security professionals, right? But where I come from is from the business side, and that's the question which a lot of these guys ask me as well. That okay, fine, I'm running an organization which has a headcount of 500 people. Out of that, maybe I have 10 of those who really understand cybersecurity, who understand the importance of it, who even understand the cyber hygiene side of it. But that's just 5% of my company. I want to protect everyone, right? I want to make sure that I am protecting the overall reputation of the whole brand, right? So I think that's where this obviously the round the clock intelligence gathering, all of that, and just making sure that we are one step ahead of the adversaries is extremely important, right? But again, how do we make sure that we lay the foundation right, right? Or what do we do in that case? What do I tell them that okay, guys, this is what we need to do?
See, it's all about being proactive. So you mentioned a very good point that we always have to be one step ahead of the adversaries, right? So the traditional SOCs, it's just about monitoring mainly on the reactive purpose. Like you receive a URL, phishing URL, or like maybe you have a user who is like brute force or something. It's more of a reactive approach. But when it comes to stepping up, uh, maybe predicting some targeted attacks is what the threat intelligence area gives us an additional angle. Like for example, if you know that there is a fake application being set up for your organization,
Yeah.
you know that you are being targeted. You know that that this application will be used to impersonate the users, and there will be a user who will be like finally targeted to get a foothold into your organization.
That's
So I
right.
think that's very important that you monitor such things and be one step ahead. Get into the details of it, like okay, the application was boosted by whom, like which were the factors which we can proactively monitor.
Right. So you spoke about phishing email, right? Again, I'm say a 2,000 headcount company, and my company is like everyone sent an email, a phishing email. Well, there'll be smart people who will not even touch it, right, and report it to the cyber team. And but what about the others? How? What do we do, right? And how do we? So as I understand, as we speak as well, right? Uh, our portfolio of services obviously has an answer to everything, right? All their questions. But specifically when we talk about our threat risk and intelligence as a service, right, and our managed defense as a service, right, it seems like these are the two key services which will help them or are help organizations when it comes to protecting, right, or when it comes to adding that layer of protection, a proactive layer, right? So tell me, how do we help, or how do we make sure that if a situation like this happens, wherein they're flooded with like phishing emails, what do we do? Are we able to detect it? Can we see it? How do we react to it? What do we tell our clients?
So this, if you just talk about this specific example, I'll just tell you how it can be detected proactively at multiple stages. Right? So somebody is setting up a phishing website. He will first has to register a domain. Right? So
Okay.
you create a domain which sounds like your organization.
Plan. Yeah. It's a proper modus operandi. Yeah.
It's a $1 million, it's $1 billion industry, and if the statistics goes. The number speaks is that it's after US and China GDP is the third largest in GDP was. You have to check verify this fact. So it is a $1 billion industry, and therefore it has to be planned, right? Because the bad guys are here to make money.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They are not here to just make fun of it. Of course, there are some who are doing it only for the sake of fun. So there is a proper planning that goes, and planning goes not in days; it can go up to months also, right? So this is where we have to proactively monitor your digital presence. The story always starts with when we support our customers, we help customers identify their digital footprint. That information is added into our platform.
What is digital footprint?
So any your presence on the internet, right? Either in the surface web or the dark web. So some of the examples could be your domain name, okay, your website name, your mobile app, right? And we also take an example, and also the people, right? Some of the CXO levels are also the people that want to ensure that we have the information about them.
What about the logos and all of that, the identity side of it?
The logo also, because nowadays we have image recognition software. Because of that, you also can know whether your logo is being used at a place where there is no association of your business.
Right.
That potentially can be.
It's a different game, seems like. Yeah.
So coming back again there. So there is an enormous planning that the attacker is going to do. So that is where we have to have that intelligence. And that intelligence, again, you have to keep collecting 24/7. And there will be a lot of chatter that's going to come, right? So intelligence will not, we will always say that this is the most meaningful intelligence, and now you have to take action on it.
Right.
So all this information is going to come. Somebody needs to monitor them, triage, analyze, and make sense of it, whether it is worth taking action or not.
Right.
So we do this proactive monitoring. Then we identify that somebody has now set up a website. So we keep a watch on that. But at the same time, Now it's also the time to protect your own employees from those phishing attacks, right? So we'll immediately tell the businesses to stop that domain on their website, on the perimeter site, so that no such, there is no such information coming from such non-supporting domains to which is operating your employees. But if you are confirmed that it's going to affect your customers, then this is also the right time to create an awareness and tell your customer that such kind of things doesn't happen. Now this is again, we assume that we are able to associate, right? But there will be some smart guys who will still be able to bypass all of this, and this is where then the power of advanced use cases that Deo and his team has built in, where they can see the outlier behavior, which will help them to identify that, hey, this is kind of a communication which is going to all my targeted employees. This looks fishy because this is not something which normal expecting. These are all abnormal activities, right? So those all the smart use cases.
So let's give an example for that. Like you might have a mention of a user on darknet, right? So in that case, it becomes, it's not a direct attack as such on the organizations as such, right? It's just a mention of a user on the dark. But it definitely gives us an idea that, okay, this user is someone who would be targeted. We know that he's a risky user. So employing some sensitive use cases just for that user makes us aware that, okay, we need to monitor, be extra cautious for that user and make sure that if there is a slightest hint that he is getting compromised, let's reset his credentials. Let's make sure that he doesn't cause further damage to the organization. It's always one user. It's always like one entry point in, and then the real attack happens.
Right, and adversaries are always looking at low-hanging fruits, right? They want anything and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
So talking about low-hanging fruit, nowadays we see that organizations are spending both in time and efforts in terms of setting up next generation SOC and having this latest cybersecurity guidance, right?
Right.
Which is again to protect your own assets.
Right.
But the attackers are not only targeting those. The attacks are not going to happen only from your IT infrastructure. They will go out of band, right? Just to give an example, we have seen an example. We have seen real attack, right? And how we identified in advance also that there was a major launch for a very big organization, and they know that this launch is going to create a lot of
buzz.
Yeah, a lot of buzz in the region. It was a sensitive region, right? So the organization really wanted to ensure that nothing bad happens. Yeah. Especially the cyber attack, because those are the ones that causes immediate which immediately affects the brand, right?
Correct.
And especially when you are doing some launches and press releases. What we realized is that just 2 days before the launch, and we were commissioned to ensure that everything is in place. We have full preventive mechanisms in place and detective, and then we also have our team, blue team, to take care of any cyber attack. 2 days just before the launch, we realized that somebody has set up a fake social media account of a CEO. Right? Now, this is something which will never wait, unless you are doing digital monitoring of your digital presence, this will never get caught, right? The objective, and then it was not just creating a fake profile. This guy has already started connecting with the key employees of the organization, right?
Yeah.
So the plan was that you create a social media site, then you start targeting those employees, send them a link or ask them for information which can be utilized for doing a cyber attack. Now, all of this is possible only if somebody is doing monitoring their infrastructure, is doing the brand monitoring.
Brand monitoring side of it. That's right. That's interesting because that's what happens, right? These identities get created, and these are really powerful, influential people. And if they are connecting, people want to connect back. If they are saying something, people want to follow that. And that's how human psychology works as well, right? If there's someone influential who's talking to you, who's telling you something, you are going to do it without thinking about it, right? And that's the entry point.
Yeah.
And that's what they played, right? So it's not just tech side of it, it's psychology as well, which is coming in, and it's a different world altogether, clearly.
So you create a sense of urgency.
Correct.
From a very important person. I'm sure majority of the people will fall for it.
Correct. Absolutely.
I have another very good example. I would say, in old days, I would say, they used to have this thing called as dumpster dive, right?
Right.
Where attackers used to actually go into a dump bin and find out some sensitive information about that, right? Things have evolved since then.
Yeah.
Now we have, I would say, digital means
Mhm.
where, let's say, a developer, for example, he might accidentally upload something on GitHub. He might just make available his source code on GitHub or something unintended thing on a cloud platform. And this is exactly a thing which adversaries are looking for.
Hmm.
They know that if they have hands-on on this code, it's an indirect way to maybe study the flaws in that, and then maybe launch a greater attack later on. So yeah, we have to make sure that we monitor such things and get these things under control.
Right. So now, if I have to just paint a picture of an organization's uh, digital identity or the assets, right, which they really need to firstly consider, acknowledge as well, and then figure out a strategy to lay a strong foundation to protect their value, right, the brand value, the reputation side of it. So can you tell me, what is this digital footprint, what kind of assets, or how do we really scope this whole thing, and then what do we really need to advise them, because we will come in as partners, we will talk to them, we will tell them what they need to do. So what do we really need to advise them when it comes to helping them, helping them fortify their overall organization, their brand value, CIA side of it, the reputation side of it, all of it. Can you help me map that out so that it's easier to visualize as well? And then how do we help them out?
So the easiest would be to start with what is your digital identity
Right.
on the internet, right? So that is your domain name, okay? That is your website, that is your mobile app, that is your brand images that you have. Then you have your presence on the social media sites, right? That is also your digital identity. Now this is completely related to your organization, but as we just discussed about the key employees also, right?
Correct.
All your CXOs, because those will be targeted for whaling attack or the phishing attacks, right? This is important part. At the same time, you also want to be aware of digital risk which is coming from your third parties, right?
Right.
We have very good examples of supply chain attacks
Right.
happening, right? So it's not only about your organization, right?
Who you're
knowing
connected
about
to.
this, but where you are connected to, either because you are sharing information or they have access to your information, or there is a channel which is established.
Right.
And all the attackers need is the channel to enter into the organization. So your association with all your third parties is also an important part that has to be there. When we know that, when we tell our customer that this is your digital presence that we want to monitor. Now, all of this is not static.
Correct.
This is going to be dynamically keep on changing also, right? So this is where we have to ensure that we keep doing digital footprinting on a continuous basis, not only for the known identities, but also for the unknown, because the organizations are quite big, spread across multiple regions,
Correct.
multiple departments, and somebody will definitely create something, right? Nowadays, we have seen that even a developer, because he wants to keep his work of art, which is the development, right? He also wants to keep his source code on the websites like GitHub. But unknowingly, he is sharing the confidential information,
Right.
which can be used by the attacker. So all of this digital footprinting is the exercise that we can basically.
Right. So when it comes to the digital footprint, Nilesh, I understand how it looks and what we really have to scope when it comes to that. But going one step ahead as well, right? One is proactively monitoring this, but how do we lay the foundation? And I think that's where the content which we build, the use cases which we develop, and the kind of consulting we do week on week with our clients is something which matters, right? So how do we lay that layer as well, which is going to complement the threat risk, digital threat risk and intelligence service which we have, right?
Okay. So the foundation is something I think Nilesh already mentioned, but it's more about, finally, I would say the biggest, addressing the biggest challenge as of now is like making sure that this what do you say alerts needs to be taken more seriously. We are still seeing a setback where it's still not an actual attack, right? So many of the businesses, they tend to ignore this and they just wait for an actual attack to happen.
Right.
So that awareness is something, is I would say it's very important, and we need to make sure that businesses take this seriously, the brand monitoring and the threat intelligence seriously, so as to avoid something which is might kill their reputation.
Right. So great. So as I understand, we have to have a plan in place. We have to identify what needs to be protected. We have to have a plan in place. Obviously, we need to partner with the right service provider,
Yeah.
a right managed security service provider, uh, who understands what needs to be done, who understands how to tailor it to every organization, and then have a proactive 24/7 monitoring of assets, monitoring of digital identity, coupled with analysts who are there on the call, ready when you need them.
Yeah.
Right. So, and obviously, all of this is also going to help organizations with their compliance requirements as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So just to add here, is one thing that I really want to highlight is that this is not an IT problem, okay? Because this is affecting your brand.
Correct.
It is your business problem. So the stakeholders are not your IT team.
Right.
It's not only just the CISO's problem.
Correct.
CISO is only going to facilitate that
Exactly.
such and such services and technologies available, which should be capitalized. But it's your brand manager, right? It's your senior manager who is really concerned about their digital presence.
Correct.
So that stakeholder awareness has to be
Right.
brought in. Then only you really understand, why this is required.